In example 2, they want us to find the first term, a sub 1, of an arithmetic sequence, but they're giving us 2 values of that sequence, okay? So a couple of hints. First of all, they're telling us that it's arithmetic. If they only gave us 2 random points, we wouldn't know if it's arithmetic, geometric, or neither. So they would have to give us that information, and we know that formula. A sub n is a sub 1 plus the common difference times n minus 1. And so when you're approaching this problem, let's assume that you've never seen an example like this before. All you know, it's arithmetic, and you know what that formula looks like. So let's look at both pieces of information that they gave us. The first point, a sub 7 equals 21. What information does that tell us? That tells us that term 7, or n equals 7, that output value, a sub n, is 21. Okay, so if we focus just on that point, that would give us one equation. We plugged it in where 21 equals our first term, which we don't know, plus the common difference, which we don't know, but we do know the n of 7, minus 1. If we simplified that, that would give us 21 equals our first term plus 6d. Okay, so that gives us at least an equation, but we still have 2 unknowns. So this might lead you towards the next step, thinking one equation with 2 unknowns, but in order to solve that, I have to have 2 equations with 2 unknowns. That's where the second point comes in. This second point over here to the right tells us that when we're at the 15th term, or n equals 15, our output value, a sub n, is 42. So that can actually give us a second value. So if we had an equation B, where our output is 42, we still don't know our first term, we still don't know our common difference, but our n is 15. So we have 15 minus 1. We simplify that, we get 42 equals our first term plus 14d. Now we have 2 equations with 2 unknowns. That's why we learned system of equations before we did sequences and series. Notice everything builds. So let's solve this system of linear equations. So equation A, again, we have 21 equals our first term plus 6d. Equation B looks the same, so we can actually reduce our A1s. If we multiplied equation B by a -1, so that would give us a -42 equals a negative a sub 1 minus 14d. Combining like terms, we get a -21 equals the a sub 1's add up to 0, and we get a -8d. If only we'd gotten a -7, that would have turned out nicely, but we can still do it. We're pre-calculus students, we can work with fractions. So that gives us a common difference of a positive 21/8. But remember, they asked us to find the first term, a sub 1. So let's plug this back into one of our first equations. If we plug in this common difference into equation A, we would get 21 equals our first term plus 6 times 21/8. So we get 21 equals a sub 1 plus 6 times 21/8 reduces to 63/4. So let's rewrite this 21 here as a fraction over 4. So that would be what, 84/4 minus 63/4 would be our first term. So 84 minus the 63 would give us 21/4 as our first term. And that's what they're actually asking us for. We can always check it by putting it into equation B just to make sure that it works. Equation B, we want to see if it does in fact equal 42. So we had 21/4 as our A1 plus 14 times 21/8, which is our D. So we get 21/4 plus 14 times 21/8 reduces to 147/4, which is 168/4, which does in fact reduce to 42. So we found our first term.